name is Candis Dyer, and this is Canna Corner. We broadcast live from the Candis Dyer Facebook page every Monday at 7 p.m. We are brought to you by the Human Solution International, the WJAE 420.com and KM420radio.com. On WJAE 420, you can catch the replay of Canna Corner Wednesdays at 2 p.m. And on KM 420 radio, you can catch the replays on Sundays at 2. So big shout out to both of our sponsors. Today, we've got an amazing guest. He is the founder and team leader of Voices of Our Veterans, Mr. Stephen Price. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. Hey, Stephen, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. We are now live on Facebook. You want to give everybody a big shout out and let them know who you are and what it is that you do, sir.
I am Stephen Price. I am vice chair. Is that ringing in the background? I'm the vice chair for the Texas Democratic Veterans Affairs Committee, and I'm also the founder of the Voices of Our Veterans here in San Antonio, a local group that helps veterans with several things. Voices is actually an acronym for Veterans Outreach, Interventions, Career, and Educational Services. So we do the best that we can to outreach to our vets, do any interventions that we can to help them with financial, personal, whatever kind of issues they may have, educational issues, career, you have it. We've done our best to try to deal with the folks here in San Antonio and Bexar County and throughout the state, both at the personal level and at the legislative level up in Austin in the past few months and in the past few years, trying to change the laws that affect our veterans and their most critical issues.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everything you do. And thank you for your service. You're a veteran yourself. Can you tell people what it is that kind of gave you the passion to do what it is that you do, reaching out, helping other vets?
Actually, in the beginning, what it was most people don't understand and don't realize that every day in America, we lose 18 to 20 veterans to suicide. I myself, when I was younger, went through a divorce and got out of the service and had a hard time adapting to the fact that number one, I had gotten out of the military, but yet I got out and got divorced and had some difficulty when I got out. So I ended up quite depressed and suicidal myself, and took it to much higher level than most people. But when I got out of that and I recovered, I got myself in trouble for pulling out a gun and trying to kill myself in public.
Oh, wow.
But I had some friends later, veterans that had issues, and they would come to me and talk to me about it because they knew I had some background and I had shared my story. I wasn't ashamed to say that, what I had done was a big mistake. So ever since then, I've been reaching out to veterans in that outreach piece. When I founded the Voices of Our Veterans back in 2006, after losing several friends here locally in San Antonio to suicide, one at work when I worked at Boeing literally shot himself on Thanksgiving Day due to the fact that he couldn't see his children. So yeah, I've had a long pathway with veterans suicide. And again, the numbers are 18 to 20. So today what I do is everything I can to try to save veterans' lives. Any way that I can. If you go to the website, thevoicesofourveterans.org, you can see the list of goals that we have. There's about 20 of them. And I would say that out of the 20, we've touched most of them. There are a few things that we still want to do, like transport veterans back and forth to the VA hospital, to get more hospitals down in the valley for veterans. But the key point here tonight, as we know, is medical marijuana. So I've been dealing with that situation for many years from several different perspectives as a veteran in the service, as a civilian in the real world with, marijuana testing. And I've fought for the last 6 sessions. Well, take that back, 6 years, 3 sessions at the House with several others, not only I'm not alone, David Bass and Jackson, Candis and the groups, we've all gone up there and testified. And finally, in the last year, things have changed. We did get some major legislation passed in this session that's going to help with protection of those that do use and have legitimate reasons for using medical marijuana.
Right.
It's called TCUP, the Texas Compassionate Use Program. That's going to help some of us veterans that get into the program and are legitimately disabled. I have PTSD, I have both fake hips that were replaced due to the military, and a spinal fusion in my back that causes me a great deal of pain. So I've gone through the regime of medication from starting from low doses of Tylenol 3 up through all the way up to methadone, 20 milligram tablets 3 times a day.
Wow.
So it's had an effect on me, not only personally, but financially and emotionally and my health. So switching from the pills, the opioids, and the acetaminophen was a no-brainer when I realized that the cannabis had changed as much as it had in the past 10, 20 years. When I was younger, I mean, the grade and the quality of the marijuana was highly in question.
Right.
There was paraquat, if some of you may remember paraquat back in Mexico, and people were smoking marijuana with herbicides on it.
Wow.
So I do understand the government's intent to reform and try to measure and quantify what is medicine and what is the medicinal value of marijuana, cannabis, in both the CBDs, lotions, chemicals, the actual flower itself, and how it damages and could damage us in the future. So the TCUP program, the Texas Compassionate Use Program, is very valuable. And I think it's going to help us get to the point to where either it becomes legal, and if it doesn't in the next session, because Texas is a very conservative state, and we may or may not have the power in the House to change it, but I would hope that in the next session, our veterans and those that do already, the ones that have cancer, the ones that have neuropathic spinal problems, PTSD, as you know, it started a couple of years back with the young baby girls that were having epilepsy and having epilepsy attacks. So we've progressed quite well in the last 5 years.
Definitely.
So that's my story. I'm adamant about changing the laws because it affects the families, the children. Suicide by methadone, mind you, is very common. It's something that people don't realize. A lot of these veterans, instead of killing themselves, they'll actually take the methadone and drink and OD, and they die. And that's the way they get the benefits ultimately for their family and kids. And
Wow.
it's not as it's sad.
Yes.
Instead of, and I don't even want to say it, but there's other ways to do it, but they choose that way so that they can get their benefits.
Right.
Yeah, it's just the saddest thing in
That
the
is
world.
so sad.
As you can see, we've got gunshot victims every day,
Right.
almost every day, at least once a week now. And they'll run the TV show and they'll show those people's faces and their names, and make it clear how many people were shot and killed and how many children were shot and killed. But you'll never probably hear them talk about the 1820 veterans that take their lives every day. So I call that the silent war. It's
Right.
something they want to keep quiet.
And it definitely is
So
something
Candace,
that
any
we,
questions or thoughts or things you might want me to answer besides
right.
what
Right.
I've been trying to do?
Well, yes, definitely is something that we need to get out there, y'all. The fact that, like he said, the veterans are killing themselves. I know you've had issues with feeling this way, and I want to ask you your opinion on. I assume, since you're a veteran, you've had to deal with the fact that you really couldn't use cannabis because you couldn't get any other meds if you pop dirty for your cannabis test. So I'm assuming that you have tried the depression medication, and that route. I know one of the major things on the depression medication is that it may cause suicidal thoughts. How was it? What's the difference for you on your medicine, pharmaceutical meds, and how that helped your depression, and now with cannabis?
So I've been through the regime but with PTSD, right? Um, Several different medications that, at first really made me feel um, different. And I know that most people, the stigma with taking any medication that alters our minds and makes us behave like somebody else that that we're really not. And unable to function without the meds is something really hard to face. So you'll find those that self-medicate with marijuana, self-medicate with alcohol, and whatever other things, cigarettes, right? Food.
Right.
Um, so me personally, the getting off of the methadone actually wasn't that difficult for me. I literally drove my car, fell asleep at the wheel at about 5 miles per hour, and I just pulled in my driveway, and I nodded out and just kept on rolling and rode right through the backyard, my neighbor's backyard, and smashed their air conditioning and smashed the front of my car.
Wow.
Um, Shortly thereafter, the kids kept telling me I would be doing dishes or something. Methadone's a lot like heroin. I mean, it's a
Right.
very strong derivative of opium. So I would be doing that. My daughter was about 7 years old at that time, and I thought, you know what, I can't continue like this. And I was being quite erratic. My behavior
Right.
was terrible. So getting off the meds was not that difficult because I did use the marijuana at that time illegally to switch over to help me wean myself off the methadone. And it's worked. I've never gone back, even though when I go now for any medication, I refuse the opioids because I know how good they work. I mean, if I right now, if they gave me a 3 milligram or whatever milligram Tylenol 3, I'd probably run around the block with these fake hips and wouldn't realize the pain I was putting myself through
Right.
for until 3 days later. Um, as far as the psycho therapy, most of what I've been able to adjust by or learn to adjust by is some of the counseling. I mean, I literally had to sit and have people tell me that, look, you need to basically face the fact that you're not going to be able to walk. Your health and everything in your life will be affected if you don't try to do better for yourself and clean out some of the toxins that I was taking. So I've done that. I've tried to eliminate the food and different things that I've taken from my body and be a little bit more healthy than normal. But I can tell you honestly, it wasn't that hard. It was a matter of life and death,
Right.
literally. So I quit the smoking. I still drink off and on, but the drinking and the meds, it's not a good thing. So I'm 61 years old, and I think that I'll be all right. I think if they legalize, not legalize, but where we're going right now with the medical and compassionate, mind you, it's compassionate now. I think that if I was to get stopped or pulled over, I might fare a little bit better because I am a disabled veteran and I do have and can carry the license.
Right.
We talked earlier, Candace, about how it affects the family and the child
Right.
protective services and how that's a big fear factor for so many of us that use medical marijuana or even the CBDs. You can be tested for taking CBDs and come up positive and lose your job. So
Yep.
the major legislation that passed, or what hasn't passed, okay, Candace, I did ask David, and thank you, David, if you're watching for so many years of leading the way as an advocate and even standing by and let me stand by you, Captain, and watch what he did. The way he does it. He's a
Right.
he's a he's a hero.
He is.
So for me to transition and change my ways wasn't that hard. The family, that was difficult because my young daughter at one time actually told the mother that she knew that dad was smoking pot. And I went through a hell of a battle with the Child Protective Services trying to hold on to my daughter. This is,
Right.
mind you, 6-7 years ago. And even now in my decree, or not the decree, but the court order talks about the use for both parents, not to drink or use drugs prior to taking custody of the child.
Right.
So the fact that they raised it now from 5% to 1%, not 5%, 0.5%
Right.
to 1% is a big move. I think, and as you saw, we talked earlier too, Amazon, some of the employers, major employers now are realizing, you know what, marijuana is I would say not even as bad as the alcohol. My body is more damaged from liver disease and alcoholism than it is from smoking marijuana, or any of the other drugs that I did when I was younger.
Right.
We'll stay out of that ballpark. But I'm 61, and I'm glad that finally they've realized, you know what, marijuana is. I know not everybody's Christian, but you know what, it's a God-given medicine.
It definitely is. It for sure. And like you were saying, with it just dumbfounds me that you could possibly, have your kid taken away for cannabis. But there's parents out there that are being prescribed all these opioids, benzodiazepines, and they're basically like, I was court ordered to stay on my Xanax or I could get my kid taken away. Like, they court ordered me to stay on that. But when it come to cannabis, it's like, dude, I wasn't even a mom then. Like, I couldn't even function right when I was taking all that meds. And that was okay. But me to smoke a joint, man, God help us. Like, that's the
Yeah,
worst thing in the world.
well, it goes back to the old school. Remember, it's reefer madness, right?
Yes.
I mean, hell, like I said, I'm 61. I didn't watch the movie. Well, I did have watched the movie, but I didn't watch it when it came out at first. Obviously I wasn't even born then. But they blamed marijuana for so many different things that it wasn't really doing.
Right.
We could be so much more profitable as a nation to legalize it and make it just like cigarettes and tax the hell out of it, and hell, we'd be making a lot of money,
For sure.
especially
For sure.
here in Texas, no doubt.
Right, right. Well, definitely going back, I guess, to the question on the 22 a day. What would you tell people, okay, like, that know a veteran or know what would you tell them to do to their family or their loved one or their friend if they notice signs of depression, how to reach out?
One of the things I always say is, back in the day, and mind you, I joined in 81 and got out in 1988. So the two things came out that were very powerful. The president, Reagan, just say no, right? His wife, say no to drugs. And then after that, they came out with the LGBTQ issue of don't ask, don't tell. So soldiers, and I'm not necessarily picking on that group, but soldiers learn not to tell.
Right.
Okay, and don't ask. If they don't ask me, I'm not telling. Okay, so using marijuana, the same thing. It was the same thing. They said, just say no. Okay, well, are you smoking weed? No. Are you getting high? No, of course, I would never admit it. But now it's just that's changed. That's an old paradigm. They need to ask for help. They need to tell. So it works two ways. We, as the people watching some of this happen to some of our vets, and not only vets, I mean, it's happening because of the pandemic. People are losing their minds because of so much stress, that you need to ask, are you okay? I
Right.
mean, look at my face. Are you
Right.
okay? They call it a buddy check, right? If you're out in the field and we're in a combat situation, it's like, are you okay? And it's very clear what we're asking.
Right.
Are you really okay? So that's a place that people are afraid to go with people that are suicidal, and to say, hey, you know what? Hold on a second, but really? Yes, really. Okay, well,
Well, not only that, but they're
I'm gonna make a
taught
phone
to
call.
be macho and you know what I mean? And so that is a sign of weakness to most people. But it's not a weakness, man. Anybody can be pushed to that limit. Uh,
It's a
even the
strength.
best of people, the strongest of people can be pushed to that limit. So definitely don't be afraid to ask your family or friends if they're okay, is what you're saying. Make sure you ask them. And
Yeah, it's a strength. It's for somebody um, to admit they have a problem. I mean, it's like I said, don't ask, don't tell. It's the same mentality. What, how hard was it for those people to come out of the closet knowing that they could lose their career and the stigma they would face? So I relate them in the same kind of context. If you don't ask, number one, probably somebody's not going to tell you unless it's a family member that says, hey, hell's wrong with you? Are you okay? And even then, you may go, no, I don't want to tell them because there's going to be consequences um, by telling. So
right,
I don't agree with that mentality. You need to ask, and if somebody asks you, you need to tell them because they care and they can help
exactly.
you. So I ask all the time, are you? And you can see the look on my face, like,
Right.
really? So
Really.
that would be my best recommendations. Don't be shy, speak up. And even if they don't answer, if you feel it, do something about it. You'll
Right.
be feel so much better. But I'll spare you the story on my friend Larry um, that shot himself on Thanksgiving Day, but he asked for help and some of us missed it.
Man.
And I'm one of them. I missed it.
That's the hardest thing for a survivor of suicide is to think back on uh what could I have done? You know what I mean? I should have seen that sign. I should have over and over, but it's definitely hard, and my heart goes out to you having to deal with that. And if anybody out there is dealing with these suicidal issues, thoughts, um, they can reach out to the voices group,
Of
right?
course, of course. Give me a second. I'll give you the number to the Veterans Hotline,
Awesome.
so we can share that with the folks. But um, in general, I mean, as hard as it is, just pick up the phone and dial 911.
Right.
Chances are, if you call somebody, because like I said, I've been there, done that. If I call somebody, of course, they're going to try to talk me down. They're going to tell me everything's going to be all right. It doesn't work that way. You
Right.
need help.
Right.
You need someone to intervene, and it's real dangerous for a family member to try to save another family member. I mean, I did study, and I do have a master's degree in human resources with a psychology background. That the first law is that you don't and you won't diagnose your family members or your friends.
Right.
I think you're narcissistic. Well, that you're going to have a hell of a problem when you start diagnosing your family or your friends. You'll
Right.
lose some. You'll lose some friends. So to get somebody else involved is critical, and there's free services out there. So let me get to the number. I'm looking
Gotcha.
at my phone because I can't do it at the same time. So ask me another question. I'm here for you.
Let me see. I had one. What? Oh, okay. So I know you said that you talked to David about the bills. What did you find out about the CPS one? That hasn't gone through yet. The one where we would be
No,
safe
well,
from CPS if you're on the teacup plan.
um, I know this personally, and I'm saying this on a public broadcast that if the state now has authorized me to be a patient, and the federal government is on the verge of also passing legislation that might even legalize it, I would venture to say, and because watch me get arrested tomorrow, right? But I would venture to say they would show the compassion that they need to show as per the law. And I would be, you know it, I'm here doing it because I'm brave enough to step
Right.
up and say, you know what, whatever, but I will put my reputation, my background on the line and say, you know what, you guys just don't get it. If you're gonna put me in jail, you're just gonna make it worse. If you're gonna take my daughter away from me, you're just gonna make it worse. You can't, you know, you don't understand. But
Right.
show me a little compassion, Your Honor.
Right.
So I have faith in the system. Um, I think that, and the reason I can't answer you directly is because the governor has yet to sign all the bills.
Right. Right.
So even though they've gone through the legislative process and been approved by the Senate and
Right.
sent to his desk, they're not signed. So I can't,
Right.
I'd be remiss to quote and say uh, that they are legal, that we are legally and safe enough to go ahead and stop worrying about the children.
Right.
I would advise anybody, number one, if the child is not already, 17, 18 years old and not aware of the drugs, the state law still says that if you have drugs in your house or anywhere, just like a pistol, where the child can get access to that
Right.
drug, you're in trouble.
Well, it's the same
Okay,
with pain medication. I mean, we have to keep that put up from our teenagers for the same
right.
reason. I mean, it comes down
So,
to the responsible parents, you know?
so irregardless, yes, I would lock up my pistol and lock up so there's no access. And then, I mean, if my daughter really wanted to break in and get my pistol, I mean, oh my God, right?
Right.
Or my drugs, and when I say my drugs, my medications.
Right.
So I think we're in a different place now. People are, especially with the marijuana, it's the other drugs. I mean, the old
Right.
school cocaine, and not that it's old school, but it's old school to me. I mean, the cocaine and all that, I'll probably have a heart attack, right? I mean, the ayahuasca and the mushrooms are coming back for psychological effect. They're even
Right.
studying that with the vets. Some of the vets with bad PTSD have gone up north and done the ayahuasca, and it's brought them out of that place.
And I have seen both sides of this. I have seen people who uh small dose of the mushrooms every like month, once a month or once every 2 months, to control depression. But then, like anything else, I've seen other people who will abuse it and their mind just goes bye bye. But I do know that it is there are researches saying that it's helping with depression and stuff. And
It does. I mean, when I would imagine in small doses, 'cause I'm old, right? 1971, I was watching Woodstock and Flower Power, and whether you believe it or not, I was a young hippie. So I've tried, most of the drugs out there. And look, I'm still
right,
right,
whatever normal is, right? Yeah.
right.
Well, heck yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. Is there anything else you want to tell to that veteran that you may think, that might be thinking of doing that, and then get that number for us so that we can put
Um,
that on the thing too?
then I don't intentionally mean to sell the motto or the logo for us is break the silence, right?
Right.
Um, and the theory of the silent war is that we're here at home and now we're fighting a silent war against ourselves
Right.
and with people that don't understand that. So I call it the silent war. And 18 to 20 veterans have taken their lives due to that same fact with it. And it's not just, hold on, it's not just because of drugs and all that. They get divorced, they lose their homes, they have family issues, and
Yes.
before you know it, they're killing themselves. It's a slow process, and some of them literally um, will drink themselves to death. And I
Right.
mean, I've had to definitely think about that myself, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not shy to say it, but um, taking the medication, the acetaminophen, and drinking is
Right.
like an absolute give me liver cancer
Right.
type of thing. Okay. So I had to make a choice. Do you want to take the acetaminophen with the Tylenol or any of these meds and still enjoy a beer every now and then, because I definitely enjoy drinking
Right.
beer. I'm gonna just, football, whatever I don't
Yeah.
want to wine or a liquor drinker, but I'd like a good beer. So yeah, I made a decision. What's going to kill me and what's not.
Right.
The weed's not killing me. If it had, it would have probably killed me a long time ago.
Right. For sure. I'm
So
sure
the
we've
number,
all tried to
okay, the
push that
national.
overdose limit on cannabis, and no, you cannot overdose on cannabis.
So the national, right? Because there might not just be veterans here,
Got you.
and I don't know how many people are in the call, but 1-800-273-8255. It's 1-800-273-8255.
Awesome. So yeah, if y'all are out there and listening and you're thinking, well, I have been down, I really, even if you're not on the verge of suicide and you feel like you need a friend, you need somebody, to help get you out of that, call that number, y'all. Call and talk to people who have been through this before.
There's a text number too, Candace.
Okay.
You can text 838255. That's 838255. Or you can go to the website, right?
Right.
Veteranscrisisline.net. Veteranscrisisline.net. If you got access to a computer, if not, like I said, worst case scenario, just pick up the phone and dial 911.
Right. Right. There are people out there that care. And although it feels like at the time that there is no way out of your situation, there is. There are ways out. You can get help. And definitely.
I try to stay away from the religion and stuff like that because I'm an HR guy by trade. But if you don't find something, a higher power, the 12 steps, they talk about a higher power, something to believe in, then you're lost as it is. So my daughter, my youngest daughter, I swear to you, I think she was born to save my life. I had been married before, and the other kids and all that was the first time around. When I got divorced, I was married twice, so the second divorce really took its toll on me, and the little girl came along, and that's what I've been doing. And then now I help other vets. I have a love for doing this, and as hard as it is and as challenging it is to deal with some of these veterans that are really pissed off. I mean,
Right.
we're really pissed off. Okay. I love it. It's like I know we're in combat. It is a silent war until you break that silence
Right.
and actually break that discussion open. It's not going to change.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen, for coming on. Man, it was a great conversation. I enjoyed it. You're welcome to come anytime you want, anytime y'all got an event going on you want to talk about or anything. Just let me know. Hit me up. We'll get you on.
All right, you're a sweetheart. Thanks.
You have a
God
wonderful
bless you.
day.
Thanks for all the work you've done
Oh,
for
always. Thank
serving
you.
our troops. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Awesome. So that was Stephen Price, y'all. He is an amazing guy. He works a lot with David. Like you said, he goes up there and testifies on the bills, and he is the founder and team leader of Voices for our veterans. Great guy, does a lot. And if you are dealing with any depression, reach out to those numbers, y'all, for sure. Let's see. I know. Hi, Dana. I see you in there. Renee. Yes, the drugs the VA gives you will make you worse. I'm not a veteran, but I have known several who passed like in their 50s and they didn't receive the medical care they deserved. Man, sorry, Deborah. Yep. Dana said that the drugs that they had him on made him suicidal, and that was one of the reasons I was asking that question, was because that is the same for me. Like I went for help with suicidal thoughts, and they put me on Klonopin, uh, and from what I understand, the dad of the person who was driving me home, he had just had his son on that same thing that just tried to kill himself. And so when they put me on that, I ended up trying to kill myself. The medicines that it can make it worse. So cannabis never did that to me. Like never gave me those for sure. Yep, yep, yep. Grow your own. They will test a child's hair, and if they test positive, they will take your kids. They don't care what you have to say. Okay, I know we were talking about the CPS and that. There actually is a bill going through Texas right now that hasn't gone all the way through yet, and it would protect uh, people who are on the teacup against CPS. So it hasn't gone through yet, but we've got our fingers crossed and hoping that it goes through. Awesome, y'all. So I have a few events that I want to definitely talk about. On the June 12th, we've got the Flower of Power Festival coming up. I'm going to go ahead and get on that event so I can tell you who all's going to be there. Man, it's going to be a great time. It's going to be at the Texas Music Ranch in Austin, Texas. I'm so looking forward to this. It's going to be on June 12th. It goes from noon to 10 p.m. Like I said, Texas Music Ranch. The event is sponsored or is by KM 420 Radio. And we are going to have lots of speakers and performers. We've got Karen Reeves with Team Syntax is going to be speaking. Joe Grumbine with the Human Solution International will be speaking. Higher Education Hemp Tours, one of their crew is going to be speaking. Wendy Love Edge, man, I cannot wait to meet her. She's going to be out there speaking. Russell Longhammer and Wendy Love Edge with the WJAE 420 and the Wendy Love Edge Show will be out there speaking. Russell Langhammer and Craig Cecil with shoot. Total brain fart, y'all. I'm sorry. With the Last Prisoner Project is going to be out there speaking. And so we've got them, and then we've got, as far as music goes, we've got Brandy Patrice. We've got Plant Matter, Geronimo, Corn Dog, Christina Quick, Duke Jones, Cohurst, Nico Cashin, Alex Brinkley, King Solomus, and Joshua Bear. So yeah, y'all, you can camp overnight. I know a few of them are going to be staying the night and camping on the Texas Music Ranch. There's going to be vendors and foods and music and all kinds of good stuff. So definitely want to be in Austin on June 12th. Amazing event. Flower Power Festival, y'all. Also, there's an update on the DFW Marijuana March and Freedom Fest. It's going to be July 24th from 12 to 9. So that was a change that had got made. I will make sure I put all these links. You can actually look up this event, DFW Marijuana March and Freedom Fest. And you can go find out more information on that on Facebook. Also, the Lucky Leaf Expo in Dallas, Texas, July 9th and 10th at the Irving Convention Center. Jason and myself will be out there covering the event for the Human Solution International and Canna Corner. So can't wait to go do that. Y'all stay tuned for a lot of live videos from there. And yes, I'm so excited. So I think that is it, other than my son's court date is on June 17th at 9 a.m. We'll be showing our support, going up there and wearing our solidarity ribbons, uh, and hoping that he gets out, man. Two things can happen. He can either get out and be on probation and parole, uh, at the same time, or he can get out and he can be on just parole, which is what he's going to ask for time served on the probation. So he's not out on both of those. And then, or they can send him back to finish his 6 years, which he's done half of. So we are hoping that he gets out, and big fingers crossed that he don't have to stay in prison anymore. And once he does get out, y'all stay tuned, because we're definitely going to have him on here to do an interview as well. But I love y'all all. Rhonda Agard will be our next Canna Corner on June 21st. The Monday before that, I believe I'm going to be coming on and talking about the Flower Power Festival. But then June 21st, Rhonda Agard. I'm so excited to talk to her. She is a wonderful, wonderful lady. One of the ladies for change with Tanya Sand and them. And she's got an amazing story. So I cannot wait to have her on. Thank you again, Stephen, for being a guest on the show. And that wraps up today. Big shout out once again to our sponsors, WJAE420radio.com, that replays Canna Corner on Wednesdays at 2, as well as KM420radio.com, Sundays at 2. You can hear the replay. So thank y'all very much for listening, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace.